All right, in this video we're going to be going and showing how to install lumber shelves in your garage or shop, wherever you're going to be installing them. And this one's got a little extra twist on it. We actually have a water pipe that's in the way. So that's going to be really fun. I'm going to show you how to get around that real easily and get your project moving. And this will work whether you're working in a shop that's down to the studs all the way up to cinder block like what we have here. So it doesn't really seem to matter. It's all basically the same principle. So in the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe, and definitely hit that bell notification icon for all of our newest videos. In the meantime, let's get to the, well, I guess it's kind of a build. We'll go with a build. We'll call it a build. All right, so like most garages and whatnot, you typically have a water heater back here, and you're probably going to want to put your wood shelves there because, well, it's a convenient place. Is it the safest place? Well, probably not, but ultimately it works. And I mean, yeah, you're in a workshop. I mean, if it's going to burn down, it's going to burn down. I mean, it is what it is sometimes. So that being said, here's our water pipe here that's in our way. So now these shelves up here was real easy because we could just mount straight into the cinder blocks. So these weren't really all that entertaining to watch being put up. But these, on the other hand, are a little bit different. So what we did instead was I measured out where the length of the little rail that they have up here goes. And I measured that length and I added about 1 inch down at the bottom. This is just to kind of give it a little bit more torque against the wall per se. And so what we're going to do is we're going to butt this right up against here, against the other one up above. And then we're going to cut out a notch right, I'm sorry, this is kind of hard to show on video. I'm going to cut out a notch right here. And what that'll allow us to do is go over that pipe, and then we'll probably be about as close to encode as we can be, and we're not sitting right on top of a hot water pipe, which is obviously not a great idea. And it's more like the internal framing of your house. So that's actually kind of important. So anyway, so we're going to do that, and then we'll go ahead and show you how we actually assemble this little jig of sorts and get this rocking and rolling. So let's go ahead and get to getting the hole in here for these guys. So using the pipe as a reference, we went ahead and drew out our 2 reference lines that we needed. So basically we just need to get between these 2 points and hit it with this little guy. So that's a 1 inch spade bit there. So we're just going to go ahead and draw a little X here to find where exact center is. And then we're just going to go straight in here. As you can see, we obviously clamped this up. So this way we would get a nice perfect hole and we didn't have to really work all that hard at trying to get a simple project done, which just should be pretty simple. So let's make it that way, right? All right. So we'll go ahead and get most of the way through there, come around to the back end, do a little bit more, and then pretty much be done from there. So the main thing about this is to make sure that this point has gotten all the way through to the other side through the hole in your table, and then you don't need the backer board as much. So that's actually kind of nice. All right, there we go. So now we got a nice hole on each side. Don't really have any sanding to do, so we can still make it look pretty even though it's a shop project, right? Right. All right, cool. So that's all good to go. That should fit right over our pipe, so we'll go ahead and do a test fitting, make sure that fits, and then work on drilling the rest of our holes. Okay, so did have to widen up that hole a little bit. My little experiment didn't work as well as I hoped, but good news is it did actually wind up working in the end, so that's good. A little bit of rasping to just kind of get the hole a little bit more open, and boom, boom. We are good to go. As you can see here, we've got space down here, so we push this against the wall, just holds against the wall, it's ready to go. So it's a great backer board. Goes right over the pipe's not touching it. It's exactly what you need. So now that we're in a good spot, now we can go ahead and put our holes in here. By the way, this is not a crack, it's just something really dark in the board. But we're going to go ahead and put a couple of holes in here, get this attached here in the cinder block, and then we'll do the same thing over on their side. Since they're all the same size and they're measuring off from that, should be good to go. So it should be a pretty easy project from here on in. Okay, so now we've got our board down here, and we're just basically have it all measured out. Just going to go ahead and zoom in on it because I'm not all that interesting. All right, so we're going to go ahead and basically just, it's a very lack of punch to get all the way down here. Just going to go and put a little mini screwdriver in here. There we go. And then basically just kind of rinse and repeat. Try to get as close to center as possible. This is where you're going to be drilling. This doesn't have to be like laser focus accurate, but at the same time, you also don't want it just kind of willy-nilly either. Bring that over here. Okay, cool. So now we have this all measured out. So now we know where our holes are going to go. And we'll just mark a little F on here. So there we go, we got our little F marked. And then here is our places where we're going to be doing our 1/4 inch drill bit. So that'll be important. We're just going to do that same thing on the other board, and then go ahead and move on to bigger and brighter things. By the way, kind of a side note, you want to do the holes for the pole first before you do the holes that you're going to be going and attaching to the concrete or block wall like we have here. Reason being is you don't want to accidentally overlap the holes. So that's actually the only reason why we do that first. If you're just doing a direct to wall installation and you don't need this extra backer board in order to be able to get around a pipe or something weird like that, you can just skip the step altogether. But ultimately, if you do need the backer board, this is how you do it. Or if you want the backer board, this is how you do it. So, all right, let's get on to the next part. So next we'll go ahead and get our bit to go ahead and make the spot for the nut. And then we should be able to go ahead and get our nut put in there, and will be less nuts. And then just give us a nice little divot here. Got little splinters like that, just knock them out of the way. Okay, so main thing is just to make sure that this is flush. So if it's not flush, it's not good enough. And that is flush, so we're good to go ahead and move on to the next one. So now all these are taken care of. So now we don't have to worry about this. So now we can flip our board back over. We've got our pattern in here of where we need to kind of where we need to worry about as far as screws go. Now the next thing we need to do is get the anchor bolts in, which that'll be fun. So we'll switch back over to our 1/4 for that. Again, just like the other side, we want to make sure that we have room for the top. So that is flush, so good to go on that. Nice tight fit too, so that's always good. Come over here, do the same thing. So it should give us some good anchor support on there. And we're supported right in this section here, which is about the middle of the board, which is where a lot of the weight's actually going to be. The bottom will actually compress against the actual deal there. Still considering putting one up here at the top, but I think I'm going to skip that. I don't think that we're going to need that much torque, considering the fact that we're putting this directly into concrete. So I think it's going to be good. And then also, of course, it's going to have the balance of the screws on here as well. And we'll go into how to deal with that dilemma here in a minute. I have a side tip here for you. If you're working with softwoods like pine as an example and you need to keep a bolt in, once you've made your little divot there, just hit the nut with a hammer, just kind of nail it in place. And that'll keep it in place pretty well. But for a little bit extra security, and we're not doing this to like hold the nut per se in place as much as we are just trying to keep it in place long enough for us to be able to tighten it. Put a little bit of CA glue around the nut and a little bit of activator to kind of get it to the point that it basically doesn't really move. And when you do that, you wind up with a situation where the nut will stay in place. You can screw it into the wall, do whatever you need to do, and then it's just there. And so unless you take it down, pretty much never going to worry about it. But even if you did, it's not like you can't just redo the same process. Most likely it'll stay in the wood properly. The CA glue is just there to make sure it doesn't accidentally fall out while you're doing stuff like turning it upside down. So that's really all that's for. But just wanted to throw that out there. Kind of a cool, stupid thing to know, but at the end of the day, it really can honestly make your job a lot easier. So, do the things that make your job easier. That's how this works. It should be fun, right? So now we're ready to go ahead and do our actual mounting on these. I went ahead and already mounted the other side ahead of time. Just kind of get that out of the way. But all you really need to do on here is just kind of try to center it up best as you can if you happen to have two racks like I do. Or if you wind up putting in another complementary rack later on, do the same thing. And then don't worry about getting the part that you're actually going to be anchoring with. Use a littler bit, go in the hole, and then just mark it that way. So now, as you can see, we have one dot there, one dot there. We know exactly where we're drilling. So now we'll bring in the big guns and actually do the job. All right, now that we got that in, go ahead and put in our little guys here to anchor this in. Boom. Let's just zip tie in like that, real nice and easy. Toss that to the side. Apparently we hit some insulation here or something. There we go. Toss those out, good to go. All right. Now we get our two little guys here. Pop those in, like so. All right, that's not going anywhere, so good to go on that. So now we can move ahead to the next spot, which is actually putting the actual rack together and then installing it on the wall. So pretty easy. All right. Okay, so we got everything all set up here. I got the other side in. Just wanted to show you guys just putting this side in. It's pretty simple for the most part. If you're using the kit like I am here, with this is a Rockler kit, I think they're all about the same really when it comes down to it. Let's pop these in. Boom, you're ready to go. Make sure when you're doing these, make sure you are reading your instructions. I can tell you from personal experience that if you forget to do that, or you've done these before and you forget to do that, I can assure you it will hurt. So anyway, that being said, let's go ahead and get these in here and get this mounted up to the wall. This may need a little bit extra love to get put on the wall. So if you have to give it a little extra love, don't worry, you're not necessarily doing it wrong. There we go. Hammer. So I got those tapped in. That'll keep it from falling down on us while we're doing this, which would kind of suck. All right, cool. That's good and stable. I ain't going nowhere. And so we don't have wood on it. You get to stand up on it. If you're going to be putting smaller items on there, which is probably where a lot of these little smaller, more delicate items are going to go, you're just going to put down a piece of plywood. Doesn't really matter the thickness, probably 1/2 inch or 3/4. 3/4 is more balanced. Put that across here, and then you can put small pieces on here. So it doesn't necessarily have to be for large lumber. So that is something to keep in mind when you're doing a lumber rack like this. Or you could just use it for long-term storage, and that works too. So depending upon where you are in the world, you may want to be careful of humidity, especially if you have it this low to the ground. So things to think about. And you may want to bring it down a little bit further if you want to have use to this top shelf. That's up to you. But basically this is how we did it. So on that note, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon for all of our newest videos. And we do have definitely a lot more coming out, so be waiting for that. In the meantime, stay safe in the shop.